Okay. Hello, hello. Welcome in. Everybody find your seats. Pile in, find your seats. We're going to get started in just a little bit here while we wait for everybody to come on in. Let us know where you're from in the chat. It's always good to see the global community that is Zeplin. So yeah, let us know where you're from. Usually we get folks from Europe, from South America, from Asia, everywhere. And usually people from the Bay Area as well, which is where we're based. So let us know where you're from. All right. Okay. Great. So before we get started, just to go over some Zoom logistics here, we have a Q&A, and my friend and coworker Noelis will be in there answering any and all questions that you have while we're going through this. So if you do have questions, put them in the Q&A, and then Noelis will be able to answer them for you. If we don't get to all the questions today, we do have a Discord where we talk about all things Zeplin. We'll add a link here in the chat for the Discord. And if we don't have time to answer your question, then we can continue the convo in Discord, and hopefully some of your peers can help you there too. Okay, yeah, people from all over the world here. Very nice. It's good to see everybody. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. We're a couple minutes past here, so let's do it. Welcome, everybody. My name is Mike Pitt. I work on the community team at Zeplin, and a lot of what I do is I find stories within our community at Zeplin, and then I share those stories with other people at Zeplin. So I'm always looking for power users of Zeplin or people that are using Zeplin in particular and interesting ways. And what I do is I'll create instructional content with them for the other Zeplin users. So if you do have an interesting story, let me know, and maybe it could be me and you up on this stage next time instead of just me. Great. So the agenda for today, we're going to talk about organization in Zeplin and how it can help move from your design tool to development in an easier and more efficient way. We're going to cover some particular features in Zeplin. We're going to cover workspace sections. We'll cover project sections, screen variants, and comments and annotations. If we have time, we'll try to fit some other stuff in, but that should be a good amount for today for organization. And there's a lot in Zeplin, so we'll actually be doing a round 2 of this onboarding session. That'll be next month. We'll invite you all to that. Great. So let's get started with workspace sections. It's important when you're developing a product that the whole team has access to all the different resources that you need to actually bring that product to life. So one example of those resources is, your high fidelity mockups, but it also could be something like your wireframes. It could be your PDRs, where you talk about why you're building the feature, who's it for, expected impact on the business. Could be things like the tasks that you and the team need to complete and how you're divvying those up, so your workflow. And then also things like your front-end component library. And those resources are important whether you're a designer or a developer or a PM or a marketer. You want all that information when you're building your product. So the problem that we heard at Zeppelin was that all these resources, they live in all these different areas. So for example, your requirements or your PDR, that might live in Notion. You might have all your tasks in Jira, your, say, wireframes in Figma. There they are. And your front-end component library in a place like Storybook. So the problem becomes that when you have all these different resources that are scattered in all these different places, you might not have access to them. You might not know what they are. You might not know where they are. And if you're a new person on a team or you're new to the product or this particular application, it's important to get that context before you actually start building or when you're building. So why you made a particular design choice, or maybe why you didn't pursue a particular development avenue, maybe it's resources. That information is important. So one of the ways that you can share all that information with your whole team is through Workspace Sections. And so here we see a Workspace section in Zeplin, and we see a couple of them: Stack Overflow, our sushi travel app, and the website. So here we have some information about our Workspace section. It includes all these projects here that you see. It includes 12 projects, some style guides, and all those other pieces that we just talked about. So you can actually add a link here. The name, maybe this is my repo, and then I can just add my GitHub URL. And that's a way that you can collate all those resources that are all over the place into one single area. And you can do things like add descriptions, show who's on the team, and describe this application more in depth. Great, so that's Workspace Sections. Just checking to see if I see any questions about that, but I think I'll let Noelis handle those for now. Thanks, Noelis. Great. The last thing I want to mention about Workspace Sections is on the left-hand side here, we have this kind of little elevator, and you can see all the different pieces here. You can even easily reorder them if you so choose to. Boom. All right. So that's Workspace Sections. Yes, that's a way to collate all the resources of that particular application or feature into one place and keep the whole team on the same page. So next, let's talk about project sections. Now, a lot of you are probably familiar with Figma or Sketch or Adobe XD. And what we have here is actually some sections in our design tool. And this is, for the record, a very neatly organized canvas. A lot of the times, as designers, we won't create, sections and order them like this. Or maybe we have a different schema from the other designers on the team. But we can see here that, this looks nice. We have this section name and a description, and then we have some screens that are related to that piece. The problem that we heard at Zeplin and that people have been telling us is that creating and maintaining these custom layers in your design tool is manual and difficult. But not only that, like I mentioned, the schema between different designers can be different. So I might organize it this way, but maybe a designer organizes it a different way. And I liken it to your room, basically. And as a designer, your canvas is your room. And you might know that you put your action figure in a sock under your bed, but for your friend who's coming over, they probably don't know where that action figure is. So project sections in Zeplin allow you a common structure to to share with your team. So let's check out what those look like. We're just going to create a project here on the right-hand side. And we're going to select an iOS platform. That'll give you particular dimensions, code snippets, and assets. And I'm just going to name it my iOS app for simplicity here. Great. And now let's go ahead and export some screens. So we have the market section here. We'll go ahead and grab that. And I'm going to export that into Zeplin. Okay, and here's that application. Great. Okay, so we're done. And we can just search for that project we just created. And then we have all those screens from that market piece. And what we can do is we can just go ahead and drag and select these, and we can create a new section from this selection. And we can name it market. Not only that, but we can add a nice little description. This is where you can buy and sell items in our app. And so what I like to do is I like to export, parts of my screens. So that was my market part, but I'm going to go ahead and export now my dashboard part. And I can just create sections from all those different pieces there. All right, and then we have all of our dashboard pieces coming in. And we can go ahead and add that section there too. So now we have this nice, neat, and clean way of organizing all of our screens from our design tool. Not only that, but if we wanted to share this with members of the team, we can actually share a link to this particular section. So oftentimes in design tools, it's difficult to tell a team member, hey, look at this one specific part of our applications. Well, if we organize into sections in Zeplin, then we can just go ahead and grab this web or app link, and we can share it with the rest of the team. Similar to Workspace Sections, we have this little elevator on the left-hand side, and that can give you an idea of what sections are in this project. And once again, you guessed it, you can go ahead and easily and quickly reorganize them. It also gives you an idea of how many screens are in this particular part or this particular section. All right. Great. So that's sections, a way to structure, to organize all the screens in your design tool, whether it's Figma, Adobe XD, or Sketch, and to communicate that in a structured way to the rest of the team so that they understand it, and not just you. Okay. The next piece I want to talk about for organization beyond Workspace Sections and project sections is screen variants. So screen variants allow us a way to communicate screen states from our design tool. And a screen state can be something, say, like this, where we have this search page, and we have a results, and we have a no result. And while this is 3 different screens in our design tool, this might actually be coded as a single screen in development. So maybe it just has different properties selected. So it's a result, no result. But when you're looking at your design tool, it can be difficult to understand what is and what isn't a screen state. And even in this canvas that we have that is nicely organized, it's tough for me and it's tough for others to just look at it and instantly understand, oh, okay, this is actually one screen and these are just states of the same screen. So oftentimes we'll end up, slacking or having meetings, or I'll write you notes, or maybe I'll label it in some way with layers in my design tool. And basically at Zeplin, we'd heard that, hey, this is really manual. It's taking up a lot of my time. Can you help us with this? And so we said yes. And that's why we created screen variants. So if we go into Zeplin and we look at the same 3 screens that we saw here, we have our default, our result, and our no result. What you can do is you can just drag these screens into this one, and that'll set it as a screen variant. So boom, there we go. This little icon at the bottom is notifying me that, hey, now this is actually a screen variant. And when I hop in to inspect this single screen, I can actually see that I can toggle between the different screen states. So I can do that with Option and the arrow keys, or I can select them at the top here. And so no longer do I have to guess as a dev what is and what isn't a screen state or a screen variant. I instantly just know with this little icon. And then also when I hop into that single screen view, I can go ahead and toggle between the different states of that screen. Okay. Great. How's everybody feeling so far? Good? Energized? Excited? Very good, very good. So, organization. One of the next parts that I want to talk about is commenting and annotations in Zeplin. So, let's go ahead and we can actually just look at this same screen that we were looking at before. And what we can do is we can add comments or annotations if we need to communicate something on this screen. And you can see on the right-hand side here, we have annotations and comments. Basically, when we were building Zeplin, we found that there were 2 separate use cases for comments. One was, say, feedback on a screen. So, hey, you need to change this font or this color, or this might be the wrong component or icon. And the other kinds of comments were things that should be permanently visible on the screen. So it might be something like a requirement, some kind of tracking, maybe an animation on your screen. There were these elements in comments that should always be visible and that weren't just, feedback about the screen, but were important for the building of this screen. And so that's where we split up comments into comments and annotations. So comments are mainly for feedback, whereas annotations are mainly for that information that you need to actually build the screen. So you can add a comment or an annotation by clicking here at the bottom and adding a note or a comment, or you can just command click. And this little drop down on the left-hand side, you can either select a comment or an annotation, like I said. Let's go ahead and select an annotation. And we can change the type here too. So maybe there's some kind of behavior here where we show the top 5 most searched items for that result when results are shown. We can post them. We see it on the right-hand side here too. Now, I want to show you something that's maybe a little more complex for annotation so you can get an idea of what a more built-out screen might look like. So let's check that out. we're just going to go into that Stack Overflow. And we're going to look at this. I'm going to Command J. This is just an easy way to jump around your project. So you can go to screens or components. I'm going to go to a screen I have set up called Dashboard Home. And it's this one right here. Boom. So a little more built out, right? So you can see that these annotations are always visible on the screen here and on the right-hand side. I can filter based on the type of annotation. So if I'm a developer and I'm just working on my behaviors that day, I can do that. Or maybe I just want to work on my requirements or my animations or just my endpoints. Well, I can do that as well too. So great. That's annotations and a little bit about comments too. All right, so we talked about Workspace Sections, a way to kind of collate all your resources into one place for the team. We talked about sections within a project that allow you to organize your screens in a way that's consumable for everybody on your team. We talked about screen variants, a way to reduce clutter in your design tool and communicate what is and what isn't a screen state. And then finally, we looked at comments and annotations. I want to say that there is a lot more in Zeplin. So we were just in this dashboard view that you see here, but we recently released flows, which is a way to document your user journeys in Zeplin. And then we also have style guides, which is basically like your design system. It's a repository for your colors, your text styles, your spacing tokens, and all your components too. So that's just to say that there's a lot more than just some of these organization features that I've shown you today. And of course, we give you all the foundational elements of handoff 2, like specs and assets. But I just want to give you a flavor of what is going to be coming in the next section where we look at some of these other features here. Okay. All right, well, I think we got to all the questions, if I'm not wrong. If we didn't, though, make sure to follow that Discord link. You can go ahead and sign up. Noelis and I will be in there after this webinar, so we can answer questions. And I'd love to actually learn about your workflow and talk about it with you and share with the community too. So if you have more questions or if you just want to chat and hang out, come to our Discord. I'll be there for just a little bit, and we can hang around. Okay. Well, thanks everybody for joining, for coming today. It was great to see you. It was great to learn, and I'll see you next time. Okay. Thanks.